Morning, everyone. So I'm Takashi Kuwabara from Deloitte Consulting Japan and the leader of climate sustainability and the strategy for chemical, energy, material, mining and metal sectors. Okay. Today, I'm very glad to be here because I was in Southeast Asia for 7 years by 2021. At that timing, I can hear a little voice about the climate sustainability because movement is quite small in this region. But now I can talk about the climate sustainability here. It means you have a lot of concern about the climate sustainability. So I'm very happy to hear that. And today I want to talk about sustainable mobility from the 4 points of view. First one, global trend, global sustainability trend. And second one, requirement of one solution as ASEAN. In this region, we need one ASEAN solution, I believe. Third one, multi-pathway, requirement of multi-pathway. We have to think various things. Well, we don't stick one solution. We need multi-pathway, multi-solution to achieve our target. And the last, I want to mention sustainable mobility in ASEAN, in this region. Okay, go to the first topics. Climate sustainability contains various meanings. It has not been defined yet, clearly. But I think we should think 3 things in the climate sustainability. First one, carbon neutrality. Maybe you know a lot. Second one is circular economy. This is maybe popular. Third one is a nature positive. The key point is we have to consider those 3 parts at once because they have a relationship. We call it nexus. So this problem is quite complicated, quite difficult to solve. Today, I want to mention carbon neutrality and the circular economy only because the nature positive is quite vague and under discussion. Before going deeper discussion, I want to ask you, why do we need to consider climate sustainability? Is it from Europe? Is it from government? Is it from private sectors? I think no. I believe consumer or customer has changed, has notified the value of environment, value of earth, natural resources. So traditionally, when customers want to purchase something, they only think quality, cost, delivery time, etc. It's easy to understand. But recently, consumer and customer want to consider environmental value when they want to choose the goods or services. So we have to think, we have to make a transformation to the environmental values. Otherwise, we will lose our competitiveness because customer or consumer will not choose your services. This is a reason. Okay, about carbon neutrality, there are three big movements. Now, first point is a government. Government, actually, published a lot of policies to shift to green transformation. Actually, over 150 countries and regions declare the carbon neutrality in near future, 2050 or 2060 or 2070, etc. Second one, financial attitude is changing. They withdraw money from the natural resources, for example, fossil fuels, to the renewable energy, clean energies. Third one, industrial part. Maybe private company want to change their supply chain with carbon neutrality and want to make a new business with carbon neutrality. Because we need profit to transform, to make a new investment for the green transformation. So we have to think those 3 points. I want to show some facts about it. First one, government. Government want to make a lot of investment into the green transformation. Not only actually investment part, but also the R&D business, etc. Especially I want to focus on the R&D part because we cannot solve this problem. This problem means a carbon neutrality with current technologies. We need new technologies. So government want to make an investment to develop a new technology for carbon neutrality. So you can see a lot of government make an investment for the carbon neutrality trend, carbon neutrality technology. Second one, as I mentioned, financial sector's attitude has been changed. Various banks and financial sectors withdraw money from natural resources, and they make a strict criteria for investment to the natural resources, traditional energy, etc. And third one, private sectors. Of course, maybe your company make an investment, make a budget for the green transformation. You can see the graph is growing up, and you can find out electrification of transport is the biggest, actually second biggest portion of the green transformation from the public sectors. So mobility, sustainable mobility is a quite important part in the world. I want to show the collaboration schemes because, as I mentioned, government, financial sectors, and private sectors moving toward to the green transformation, carbon neutrality. However, to maximize our power, our resources, we have to make a collaboration to achieve our target. In the US, maybe you know, recently IRA, this is a big tax reduction for the energy transformation, especially hydrogen. The government prepared a big budget and a big, quite strict regulation for the generating hydrogen and the supplying hydrogen or consuming hydrogen. Following that, industrial park in the US, I believe they have 80 or 90 industry park in the US. They develop energy transition plan using the hydrogen. They are collaborating now. And as a result, maybe the US want to make a de facto standard of the hydrogen. Actually, Japanese company maybe plans to import hydrogen from the US. I believe such kind of collaboration is required to achieve our target about the carbon neutrality. The last part of carbon neutrality, I want to show the 4 other key points. First one, realization of energy systems. It means a kind of the collaboration. Ecosystem is quite important. We cannot achieve our target by only yourself. Please collaborate with others. And second one, efficient use of energy. Actually, Japanese company is good at using energy efficiently. So maybe this is a good discussion point between the ASEAN and Japan. Third one, I want to mention it from next page, circular economy. Fourth one, as I mentioned about it at the government part, we need new technologies. So promotion of project of new negative emission technology, we call it NET. It means the next technology for the carbon neutrality. Okay, go to the next topics. Second one is a circular economy. Let's think again. Why do we need to consider about circular economy? Circular economy is quite complicated problem. I think there are 3 points. First one, circular economy will contribute to the carbon neutrality because we can use waste, we can use carbon dioxide for other products. Second one, resource security. It's a quite a big problem because rare metals, who will produce it? China or some few countries have our resources. Third one, business opportunities. It's the same as carbon neutrality. However, change of supply chain will be bigger than carbon neutrality because we have to consider the waste of goods like that. So I want to show such kind of things from now on. Maybe you may hear about the life cycle assessment or greenhouse gases from life cycles, product life cycles. To reduce the greenhouse gases, to reduce the carbon dioxide from the goods or services, we have to think total of life cycle of products. To reduce carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases, we need to consider circular economy because there are a lot of waste. We have to utilize it or reuse it. So, to achieve the target of the carbon neutrality, we have to consider circular economy. Second one, resource security. To manufacture the lithium-ion battery, we have to use lithium a lot, right? So you can see a lot of rare metals, demand of rare metals will be increasing in future because we have to use a lot of batteries or other power generations, etc. But on the right side, you can see only few countries can produce the rare metals. So we want to reuse the rare metals or resources from the waste. This is a key concept of the circular economy. Third one, business opportunity. Traditionally, manufacturing industry developing a linear economy. This is quite simple. We add the value to the natural resources or feedstocks and sell it. It's a kind of the good business model, traditionally. But from now on, we have to think recycling, reuse, refurbish, sharing, everything. So there are a lot of change in the supply chain with the circular economy. Actually, Japan government estimate the value of this one about $200 billion for this decade. We have to grab such a big opportunity with circular economy. The problem is we cannot find out how to achieve it, how to deal with it. It's a quite a difficult problem for us. This is our thought, I believe. The concept of circular economy, the target material is everything. We have to think not only steels, rare metals, etc. But also we have to think rare earths, resins, plastics, everything. To realize it, I believe regional economic zone is a quite important concept. Local production and local consuming. It means if we can collaborate together in ASEAN, we can make a big economic region, economic zone with circular economy. This is a quite big concept, I think. Indeed, European Committee published a regulation related on the lithium batteries this year. They want to make a regional economy in Europe about the battery because lithium battery required a lot of rare metals. So you can see the maybe lithium and cobalt, lead, etc. Almost rare metals, they want to reuse and recycle inside Europe. And to certify or to verify this supply chain, they develop tracking systems. We call it digital product passport. The service name is Surplus in Europe. This is one of the big new business opportunity because we can track the where product is. So we can think what service will be generated with these tracking systems. And following this announcement, European OEMs, automotive sectors published their target to use recycled materials. This is a maybe very challenging target for them. However, they want to use recycled plastic, recycled steels, etc. for the passenger cars or passenger vehicles, etc. Okay, this is in the part of the trend of the world in the US, in the European Committee, etc. I want to show next requirement for the one ASEAN solution in this region. Maybe you know, in this region, economy is growing, population is growing, goods or items is growing, household income is growing. So it means we need a lot of energy. However, we don't have enough renewable energy source. We have to, maybe it's a kind of estimation, we have to use 80% or 70% or 80% of energy from the natural resources, fossil fuel base. So we have to make big challenges to achieve our target, carbon neutrality. But the source of renewable energy is limited. You can see potential of solar power is only in Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, etc. On the other hand, wind power generation potential in Vietnam, Philippines. In addition to that, to storage carbon dioxide, the potential is only in Indonesia and Malaysia. But if we can collaborate the solution in ASEAN regions, we can use everything. We can take a part in some part and contribute to the other countries in these regions, etc. So I want to show one ASEAN solution. I want to mention about it later. Before that, I want to show multi-pathway solutions, multi-pathway thinking. Even though in Europe, they don't rely on only electrification. They try everything, every solutions. They have 4 scenarios, actually. It is from actually Europe, Deloitte Europe. First one is, of course, electrification is quite important. They are tackling to achieve this target, but they are considering about the circular economy as well, and biomass-based energy and biomass-based plastic, etc. And the fourth one, they want to make a storage for the carbon dioxide. They have 4 scenarios, mainly. So, even though in the EU, they have multiple solutions. Indeed, European Committee published some paper about this one. They need every solutions. They consider every required solutions to achieve our target. Don't omit other solutions. Don't stick one solution. This is a key message from the advanced green transformation regions. So, based on this one, some government or some private company modified their attitude, their movement. For example, European Committee, maybe you know, allow to use e-fuels in future. And United Kingdom postponed to use gasoline-based vehicle to 2035. They think a realistic method, how to achieve the target with reality. Based on this movement, some European OEMs make an investment into the e-fuels, hydrogen, etc. Even in the European OEMs, they have options. And as I mentioned about it at the beginning of my presentation, consumer and the customer can choose the options. This is a key point. Okay. This is the last part of my presentation. Sustainable mobility. The CO2 emissions from the vehicles transportation sector is the second largest part in this region. So we have to consider sustainable mobility. What sustainable mobility is. It depends on the renewable energy situation. We have to consider other options. And I want to show 3 slides from now on. First point is we have to consider CO2 emission according to the renewable energy situation. And the second one is, we have to replace all the vehicles, aged vehicle, because aged vehicle emit a lot of CO2. And third one, resource management. Which engine type, which vehicle can be most efficient vehicle from the natural resources point of view. I want to show this one first. This is an emission from the vehicle types, hybrid, battery EVs, plug-in hybrid, etc. Of course, it depends on the renewable energy situation. For example, 10% of pipe and 30%, 50%, the situation will be changed. So we have to think what type of vehicle is better according to the renewable energy situation. The second point, replacement of all the vehicles. There are 31%, about 30% of the vehicle exist in Thailand. But from the CO2 emission from these old cars occupies about half of emission in total. So we have to replace this one. However, who is the user of this old vehicle? Maybe lower income person. So they cannot purchase the latest vehicle. We have to show the options to them to replace the old vehicles. Third one, resource management. To manufacture lithium batteries, we need a lot of rare metals, nickel, cobalt, lithium, etc. For batteries, for battery-based EV, is requiring a lot of rare metals rather than hybrid-based EV and the plug-in hybrid EV. About 39 times comparing with hybrid EV. As a result, the total of emission from the life cycle point of view, the 55 time emission will be reduced than battery-based EV. So we have to consider which vehicle is better choice from the various point of view, perspectives. This is quite important. I want to summarize my session from the 5 key points and the last one additional my comments. First one, why do we need to consider climate sustainability? This is because customer has changed. Otherwise, we cannot make a competitiveness. Second one, we have to consider carbon neutrality and the circular economy at the same time, and with business opportunity. With business is quite important to earn money from the carbon neutrality and the circular economy. Third one, please think alternative options, multi-path. Don't stick one solution. Of course, resource is limited. However, please think other options. And fourth one, collaboration. Cross-industry, cross-geography solution is required to achieve our target, especially in ASEAN. And for automotive sectors in ASEAN, we need more alternative options, multi-path solutions in ASEAN. Last one, I want to add my comment based on this key point. I believe competitiveness in this world or in this situation is from truly consideration of the sustainability, climate sustainability. Don't do greenwashing. Consumer and competitor, consumer and the customer will find out your force, something. Please consider truly what is the best for the climate sustainability. I think this is a key competitiveness from now on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Now I am pleased to bring forward Mr. Yasuyuki Murakami, Executive Director, Deloitte, for his presentation.
Okay. Sorry, by the way, I will not present anything, just a 1 minute quick bridge statement to the panel discussion. Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. My name is Murakami. I'm coming from Deloitte Consulting Southeast Asia. I'm a partner focusing on automotive. Before we move on to our panel discussion, just wanted to share with you why we are doing this. For the last more than 15 years, myself has been engaging with the automotive industry within Southeast Asia. For the last few years, the main topic is on electrifications. But why are we talking about electrification is purely the ultimate objective is to achieve decarbonization, to achieve carbon neutrality. But often cases, we tend to tilt our discussion more on the technology of electrification itself, rather than how to collectively achieve decarbonization and carbon neutrality. So we saw needs across all the sectors, across all stakeholders, not just the private, but also including public, the need for having a community to share and discuss this agenda, and then also agree on the directions going ahead. So we've actually started this initiative a few months back, actually almost a year. We've run some of the trial discussions in Thailand prior to this 49th AGBM meeting today. Especially in Thailand, I also like to mention the sincere appreciation to Khun Kalin Sarashin, who is the honorary chairman of the Thai Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Board of Trade of Thailand. And then also he's Toyota Motor Thailand chairman. Thank you very much for your support and then the contributions till today. And then we really appreciate your support throughout. Thank you. Thank you very much. So with this, I would like to invite all the panelists for these sessions. So the panel session will be moderated by Yamada-san, and then I'd like to invite the rest of the distinguished panelists on the stage.
So now let's start the panel discussion.
Hello.
Like this. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the introduction, and we are very grateful for the opportunity to have this engagement to facilitate this panel discussion with several panelists here at ASEAN. I'm Yusra from the consulting, also specializing in the automotive and mobility sector in Southeast Asia. Today, we have 7 distinguished panelists on site and 2 of the panelists joining us online. Let me quickly introduce each of the panelists and then move on to the discussion. So first, we have Mr. Kia, Vice Chairman of Japan ASEAN Committee of経済同友会, and also the former Representative Executive Officer and Executive Vice President of Mitsubishi Motors. Second, we have Mr. Murakami, partner at William Consulting. Third, we have Mr. Kasemsit PATHOMSAK, a member of Vice Chairman of the Board of Stakeholder. And then we have Mr. Corieh HO, partner of Deloitte, also the Sustainable and Climate Assurance Leader for the Asia Pacific and Southeast Asia. And then lastly, from alongside, Mr. Barbara will lead the presentation. And then we have 2 members joining from online. First, on the left side of the screen, we have Ms. Corieh DICHOSA, Executive Director of the Philippine Board of Investments. And then on the right side, we have Dr. Yusra KHAN, the Ambassador of the Environment Stakeholder Members of National Energy Council, as well as the Indonesian Ambassador to the Republic of Mexico, 2014-2018 years. So, with these 7 distinguished panelists, we would like to start the discussion, but let me just quickly introduce the journey that we're going through with the Sustainable Mobility Working Group. So, this working group was formed in June, where, as Murakami just mentioned, looking into what is the situation in decarbonization and carbon neutrality in the ASEAN region. Deep diving into what are the current challenges and opportunities lies, as well as what is the realistic and practical way of transitioning to the decarbonization and mobility sector. So in September, we had a trial session inviting the industrial experts to discuss on this topic. And we had a lot of great insights provided from these experts. So let me also quickly highlight on some key points. One of the points was, again, exploring the possibility of multiple technology solutions, not just relying on single technology. And this is to ensure future diverse needs from the customers, as well as understanding the market situation, including infrastructure readiness, as well as the available sources in the market. Another point that was highlighted was having the holistic view of considering the carbon neutrality across not just the vehicle sales, but also the value chain, the end of life, as well as the entire unit operations. The session was very interactive, and we have gathered a lot of insights here. And today, as we have various experts from different countries and markets, we would also like to hear some of the valuable thoughts from each of the panelists. So with that, let me proceed with the first question on the panel discussion. First, I would like to start asking each of the panelists if you could introduce yourself, a brief introduction, your name, your organizations, and the background, and how your expertise actually relate to a theme of sustainable mobility in the ASEAN markets. So can I start from Mr. Kien?
Is it working? Hello, this is Corieh here. Thank you very much for the opportunity here. As been introduced, we used to work at British Motors for 8 years as a VP and CFO. But before that, I started my career as a Japanese market, working in Japan overseas delegations. And the reason, and also I worked with the AJPM, with Yakuza, member of since last year. So this is a very topical subject for me, especially in the industry. And there are two reasons that I think the reason I'm here today might be some contribution to one is that British Motors is very much dedicated historically and currently to the Asian market. We might know that we're the first exporter from Thailand in 1988, and also in Indonesia, and also in the Philippines, we were number 7 largest market share, and also in Vietnam and Malaysia. So, and half of our vehicles that we sold in Asia. That's one thing. Secondly, as well as I mentioned, the multiple technology, including not just dedicated battery, but also HV and HV. That's exactly what, as a company, as Mr. Motors, we actually need. The reason being that not just we are the first manufacturer of battery in line, we are very much dedicated to HV, Japan, and overseas. So various reasons, I think we are very much, I appreciate subject.
Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Murakami. I'm the Southeast Asia. As I engage with automotive clients within Southeast Asia, one of the things as Ian also mentioned, this is a very complex issues that we face on a daily basis. It is a very frontier agenda across all markets in Southeast Asia, but it also involves multi-stakeholders across from not just automotive industry, but upstream and suppliers, as well as different sectors that automotive industry used to interact with. So it is relevant agenda to all of us, to myself as well. And then it is my passion today to discuss on this agenda. It is not easy. We will not find a single solution or agreeable solution right away, but it is also, it's our duty to continue to discuss and engage with the different sectors to find a way going forward. So with this, thank you.
Sawadee krap. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kasemsit PATHOMSAK. I am here in the capacity as the Vice Chair of the Board of Trade of Thailand and the Thai Chamber of Commerce. I work very closely with Chairman Kalin Salasin. I felt a bit reluctant to be here because I am not directly in the sector. Not exactly sure if I can help, but I would like to contribute. I wear multiple hats. My day job is I run a financial firm, asset management, fund management, investment banking firm. But I sit on several boards. I sit on a construction company, a very old construction company in Thailand. I also on the board of a gas energy company and a solar renewable energy company. So maybe that's my contribution to our discussion today. I think the topic is really decarbonization, and we zero in on the sustainable mobility, which is a part of the decarbonization effort that we are going through. Mobility is just part of that. The bigger picture there are still a lot of moving parts and a lot of many new initiatives that we have to focus on. So I guess we will get into that following this. Thank you.
Good morning. This is okay. Okay. I think I need to lay a little bit here. So good morning. This is so I'm a partner at Deloitte, leading our climate and sustainability assurance in Asia and also for Asia Pacific. Really nice to meet all of you. So I spent my last 20 years on sustainability, 18 years in Hong Kong and China, and 2 years in Singapore. So I believe the work that I most related with sustainable mobility in the last couple of years is on sustainable finance. Many companies are looking at, doing financing with the banks or other investors on sustainability. And I believe this is also something that we need to leverage on. How to look at making the companies have more incentive for their startup costs on sustainability. But also we are also having more and more discussions. I also very agree on what other panelists saying is about not a single way. We should have multiple ways. But also looking at how to consider the social dimension when we talk about transition as well. Just transition, given that in ASEAN, this is a lot of urbanization, but still a lot of underprivileged groups as well. When we do the transition, how to consider the living of those social groups will be also something that we will need to look at. When we talk about the whole decarbonization pathway. So hope that we can have some discussion today. Yes. So these are not working too.
Sometimes working.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Then I would also like to hand it over to the members who are joining from on-site. Ms. DICHOSA.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Corieh DICHOSA. I'm from the Board of Investments, Executive Director for Industry Development Services. Our agency is an attached office of the Department of Trade and Industry. I am a chemical engineer by profession, and I've finished a master's program in environmental engineering as well. As an Executive Director of Industry Development here in the office, my responsibilities include policy advocacy and formulation, as well as implementing initiatives for the local industries to grow and adapt to the local and global trends, including decarbonization, economic circularity, as well as supply chain resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Khan.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone there. My name is Yusra KHAN. I was former ambassador of Indonesia and Mexico, 2014-2018, and I'm now currently working with the National Energy Council, member of Stakeholder for Environment. There is a reason for me to join the National Energy Council, the area which I never touched before, but at least since 35 years working experience in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I deal with some issues of the energy, especially on the climate change and environmental sector. We're working here under the guidance of the President with our chair, 8 ministers as a member, and 8 members from the stakeholders. And I'm representing the government stakeholders and working nowadays on how to shape and to recommend the policy precisely to the government on the energy sector, as well as to monitor the implementation of the policy. There's a lot of challenge nowadays, not domestically, but also internationally, and how we connect and synchronize them in order to work in the field. In particular, in ASEAN itself, I support the idea of having this within the ASEAN cooperation with Japan, for example. Because we know that for so generation has been there, and we need to reshape it into the commitment of the climate change and our own commitment of net zero emission, which is Indonesia in 2060. So a lot of things that we can talk about with energy today, and I think that's it for my introduction for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Khan. So now I would like to move on to the second question. The question will be, what implication does the Taiwan holds for ASEAN countries? And could you elaborate on its strategic significance within your organization and the broader mobility sectors? So for this question, I would like to ask Mr. Kasemsit to respond to this question.
Thank you. You skip a few cues. Okay. Yes, I think if I may offer the case for Thailand, I think we associate decarbonization with the climate change that has been very evident and seen in nowadays everywhere. And Thailand is an agricultural manufacturing economy, and we are hit by the whole entire climate change directly. You know, I think we have been facing firsthand the severe drought and floods that affected our exports on an annual basis. I think every year we have to struggle with water management that comes at various seasons, with the crops that are being exported getting very severely affected. On top of that, we are now hit by the new measures with the European Union on the CBAM. I think we are being forced on both sides, the manufacturing side, the production side, as well as the market, who is demanding higher standards for the exports and manufacturing. This all calls for huge investment, huge mindset change, which is happening at a time when the global outlook is not doing well. I think we are facing several challenges. The government, the policy, the business sector are all in line to try and move to a greener production value chain. Technology problem here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but it's getting it's okay. Yeah, I lost my thought. Okay. So it's very important to see the determination of the policymakers, to try and towards that, and we want to do it. Hello. Hello. Okay. Hello. Okay. I have to maybe use a few, but yes, as you can see, I think we the government is quite clear on automotive. I think we are projecting 30 by 2030. So 30 by 30. We want the entire cars on the road to be electrified to be EVs by 2030. And we are moving quite aggressively on that target. And government is giving all sorts of incentives and programs to try and promote that. And as a matter of fact, if you go to Bangkok today, you will see EVs are very common sights. I think in the last year and a half, we have about 5 to 6 EVs brands just entering the market and making huge inroads into our market. And Thailand is a very big auto market. On the energy side, I think we are moving very, very aggressively into renewables. In fact, why not? Because in a country like Thailand, we have the sun all year round. I don't know why we didn't harness the solar power much earlier. The cost has been much more effective now, and I think it's something that we all should move towards that. Renewable from hydro, from the sun, from the wind. These are very clean energy, and will all happen with the push from the government incentivizing industries, also demand from the market, and also going towards the decarbonization futures target that we are going through. I think I'll start with that. I'll start with that for now.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Kasemsit. I would also like to hear from Mr. Murakami on this point on what is the significance in this ASEAN market.
I hope this microphone works. All right. So when we address this issue, we always want to go back to, once again, what objective we are, why we are doing this. It's about decarbonization. It's about carbon neutrality. So in order to achieve carbon neutrality within the Southeast Asia through the automotive or transportation sector, there is no doubt that we need to move to the less carbon emitted powertrain vehicles. Then one of the options is definitely the electrified vehicle, but nevertheless, we should also not forget the bioethanol or other option of biofuels. Within the electrified vehicle, as Kun Kasemsit mentioned, yes, the battery electric vehicle is one, but there is also a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and there's also a hybrid electric vehicle. In the future, there will be hydrogen-based, for example, a fuel cell electric vehicle. So when we talk about electrified vehicle, we are not actually talking about the single solution that is battery EV, but we are referring to a wider option of electrified vehicle. We also need to be careful on the well-to-wheel perspective, as Kawabara-san mentioned. At the current moment, renewable energy within Southeast Asia, including Thailand, is still in the emerging limited stage. Even the mid to long-term expectation, at the maximum, we are looking at the 20% to 30% of renewable energy supply against the overall. So remaining 70% to 80% will still be based on the non-renewable energy supply. We also need to talk about not everybody is driving vehicles for the passenger purpose. Actually, half of the market is commercial vehicle. So for commercial vehicle purpose, what is the right powertrain solutions to achieve decarbonization? This is also another problem. Even within the passenger vehicle, I suppose many of us are coming from the city residents, but a majority of the population within Southeast Asia still live suburbs outside of the metropolis. They live in the rural area, the farming area, or mountainous area where the roads are not even paved. So in that circumstances, what is the right technology to support their day-to-day life and the usage at the same time achieving decarbonization? So all of this need to be discussed and find a solution. So because of these situations, there is no single technology that can identify the answer to all of the problems. Now, coming back, from a macroeconomic standpoint, in the mid to long term, overall market of ASEAN automotive will continue to grow. By 2030, we are estimating combined Southeast Asia market will go beyond the Japan market size. So what we are discussing of this new segment as an electrified segment, let's assume it'll be 20% or 30% in the future, but remaining 70 to 80% of the ICE-based market the total pie will continue to grow. So we are always talking about how to transform the existing automotive industry in Southeast Asia to the electrified automotive industry. In reality, existing automotive industry still need to continue to expand. While we're doing so, we also need to build the new automotive industry that will cater to this lower carbon emission vehicles. So I just want to end my, I don't want to continue to speak about this for long for the rest of the panelists. But in a nutshell, it is not about moving existing to the new completely. It's not one way or another. It is more of how to optimize this growth at the most logically and feasible level to achieve decarbonization. That is my thinking process. Over to you, Yanaga-san.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murakami. So I believe there was a point mentioned about that each market situations are different, and then there is already the challenges that they are faced by each of the players in the market. So I would like to also ask this question to the panelists online. So what is the challenges that are encountered by the countries, including issues related to charging infrastructures, pricing, and driving range? Do you identify any similar challenges in your respective markets? And when it comes to achieving sustainable mobility, what do you consider to be the most pressing one? So if I may ask Ms. DICHOSA for this question.
Thank you for the question. The EV industry in the Philippines is actually in its early stages. In fact, we have very few EVs in the country. I think we only have around 14,000 registered with a land transportation office. And about 75% of these are actually e-trikes, which are used in the local governments. The same problems actually have been identified, particularly the pricing, charging infrastructure, and of course there is still that anxiety in terms of range. Here in the Philippines, particularly in the urban centers, it's really a lot of traffic, and so one questions whether they will reach the next charging station if they're caught up in the traffic. So having said that, I think for our purposes, it's really more of the pricing and the charging infrastructure, because similar to Thailand, we're a very big agro and manufacturing enterprise economy, and that we're very vulnerable to climate change as well. So because of this, the government, in fact, last year has enacted our EV Industry Development Act. So I think that is my first line, which actually institutionalized a whole of society approach to develop the local EV industry in the country. The law provides both fiscal and non-fiscal incentives to lower the cost of production, as well as price for the EVs and the charging infrastructure. It is hoped that if we lower the price, there could be a facilitated market adoption, and that would also encourage more infrastructure to be developed, not only in urban centers, but also nationwide. And I don't know whether the slide was shown. The second slide actually shows the incentives that are being given by the government just to encourage investors. So here, in the first slide, you will see this was actually enacted last year. And then this slide actually shows you the fiscal support that the government provides so that we can encourage more investors and more consumers to adopt electrification in the country, because we see electrification as a key technology that would help us move forward with our decarbonization strategies in the country. So, and particularly right now, we're also collaborating with some institutional partners like UNIDO and UNDP, so that we can already pilot some urban cities or key cities to deploy different types of electric vehicles, and that we show how EVs make sense, and that it also makes business sense for a lot of our operators and drivers in the country. So I think with those we can show that businesses can generate profits as well as reach their sustainable development goals together with the government's net emission goals as well. So I think those would be the most, particularly to encourage more charging infrastructure and facilitate adoption through reduction in the cost of production as well as in the selling price to consumers at that level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dichosa. And Dr. Khan, if you have some words also.
Yeah, thank you. I think almost similar to what countries in ASEAN facing to what we are facing also in terms of developing these electric vehicles. The problem with infrastructure remains a challenge for us because in Indonesia we have 70,000 islands altogether, although we are targeting 65% of our population, which is the result of living in Java, and how then in Sumatra, and Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and the other, and Bali, for example. What we are trying to do is just to arrange some fiscal incentive for developing the ecosystem to push the private sector to be able to consider to invest in the area of infrastructure, for example. And the secondly, also, we try to encourage companies or private sector to develop the battery industry in Indonesia, since we have the resources here.
Dr. Khan, can you hear us? Maybe the network has been disconnected. Dr. Khan, can you still hear us?
Yes, sorry so much.
Yes. No issues.
My city, I'm in my room right now with Java, but actually, we are trying to encourage the development of the battery industry in Indonesia right now, where we plan to also facilitate the growing of the electric vehicles using in Indonesia right now. The other thing that we are very much concerned is, since we have 128 auto vehicles in Indonesia, all of fossil fuel, we also have a policy to have a conversion from the fossil fuel auto vehicle into the electric vehicles. So this kind of thing will help a lot, not only to reduce the emission in accordance with our target of net zero emissions, but also to have the people finding the job, and also to have also the industry, small and medium industry in Indonesia, in particular in this kind of workplace, can be absorbed, and simultaneously have the growing of the economic sectors in Indonesia. Among others that I can share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khan and Ms. Dichosa, for sharing the actual issues that are faced by each market. I understand it's not only about the infrastructures or the pricings or anything, but also the employment and all these environments we need to consider holistically in order to tackle this decarbonization agenda. So moving on to the next question, looking back into the session that we had in Thailand, I think there were some comments on how we should explore multiple options of technologies. I think it was also mentioned in the previous presentation, as well as having the holistic view of not just decarbonizing in the tailpipe or the new car sales level, but looking into the value chain and also the end of life, the entire life, the unit in operations for the vehicles. What is your perspective on this discussions or the agenda that we have been brought up? I would like to ask this question to the member who haven't joined this session last time, Mr. Ikea, if you have any thoughts on this question.
Yes, thank you very much. Maybe I just have some comments and maybe Sam make some additional topic about those things, if you don't mind. There's three things I just briefly want to mention. Firstly, about the Thailand sessions. The implication of multiple technology options, which has been raised, and also the life cycle assessment is necessary. I think I strongly agree, support these two ideas, as we mentioned. And especially even in, but the second things I just want to mention is that Japan and Asia is very much in a similar situation in confronting these two topics. That's what I would like to mention. Because like, you know, the percentage of renewable energies last year in Japan, I understand it's about 23%, while Asia is 14%. That's much behind Europe. But even in Europe, they are rectifying their policy. They used to have the policy of converting 100% of new vehicle sales to ZEV by 2035. I think Germany and Italy are against those things, so they try to modify those things. So I mean, this is similar to what we have been talking about anyway. And secondly, the EV electric vehicles percentage in Japan is only 2%, including PHEV. Asia is obviously less than that. But so I think country by country, region by region, these has to be identified and discussed throughout the two things: life cycle assessment. What is the best policy and what is the best speediness in doing these things? And each country has their own ecosystems and so. That's second thing. And if I just add what third things, I think the collaboration between in automobile sector, Asia and Japan is very, very important in twofold. One is that we have been serving the Japanese OEMs, including us, is serving Asia for more than 50 to 60 years. The market share in Thailand is more than 89%, similar in Indonesia, same in Philippines as well. So and all that ecosystems serving from supply chain to distributor channel, including financing as well. So we have a responsibility and the business chance to converting these things to more smooth EVs in life cycle management in each country. One last request I want to have in ASEAN countries, that at this moment, it seems that each country has their own, pursuing their own policy. I think you need to have a sort of ASEAN united policy, and we, Japan, the industry and the government policy as well, would like to very much to support this to make an Asia-Japan a sort of region-wise the best mix for the future collaboration for carbon neutral policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ikea, for bringing your opinion here. And Mr. Kasemsit, if you also had any opinion on this.
Yes, thank you. I think those are very good comments. The key here is really the policy of the government, the policy of the leaders, policy of the business leaders to try and move this transition into a greener technology, because the automobile is not just the consumer automobile, but it's also the trucking side. We haven't even gone into the aviation side, which is the big consumption of non-sustainable fuel. And in that space, they are also working on the sustainable aviation fuel. But the policy is very important. Market will make the demand for the policy to change. And more importantly, they need to, in order for them to change, they need to be financed. I think this is another big function that we want to talk about. We need to help the companies and consumers finance this transition. I think that's very important. The worries I have with this backdrop against what is going on in the weak economy, the global economy, is that with the war going on, there is high inflation, there is a high fuel cost, there is a tendency for government to subsidize fuel, especially diesel being the most common fuel, and the transition will be slow. People will take even longer because the fuel are subsidized, and it has to be subsidized because of the hardship that people are going through. So there are a few challenges, and the incentives is important, the directives is important, but the challenges remain. So those are a few points I want to leave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kasemsit. I understand how the policies are going to be the big part of transitioning to this decarbonization society. Since we just mentioned about that, I would like to ask Mr. Murakami, what is your point of view on the current situation of the collective and individual efforts made by the private and public sector, whether this is sufficient to make the decarbonization in the automotive industry or not? What are the enablers needed? Or any additional initiatives that will be required within this region?
Thank you, Yamada-san. Well, first of all, I'm not in the position to state whether everybody's effort is sufficient or insufficient as of now. But I believe, as every panelist today also mentioned, there is a room for improvement. There is a room for further collaboration. So that's something we can all agree of. Just looking back our sessions in Thailand as well, although the automotive market is largely favored by the Japanese OEM market share within Southeast Asia, especially in Thailand, our session was consisted of not just the automotive Japanese OEMs, but also we had the European OEMs, we had the Chinese automotive OEMs, and then we had also the energy company like Kasemsit and other parts suppliers joining the session too. So going forward, not just the market dominant players, but all these new entrants, Korean, Chinese, Europeans, even to the US automakers and related stakeholders, and also each ASEAN governments, and to the extent of the city municipal offices for taking care of the local infrastructure, we all need to come together to discuss what we should work on collectively. We will not be able to find a single solution once again, but this is some of the exercise we especially need to make an effort to work on. I also like to touch upon what Ikea-san mentioned on the cross ASEAN policies, harmonized policies. From the private sector viewpoint, it will be virtually impossible to respond to every ASEAN country's request to invest into electrified industry. It does not make sense from an economic standpoint. So each country probably through the government collaboration as well need to discuss which role they will play within this electrified ecosystem and which request they will make to the private sectors to build, invest in within their country. Unless otherwise, we will end up Thai auto industry, Indonesia auto industry, Philippine auto industry, competing constantly each other. There is a good part of it, but also there is inefficiencies collectively as ASEAN. So again, I am not suggesting which way is the right way to go, but for our agenda here today, from what we hear, I think it is our time to first of all discuss and align and harmonize what is the right direction to optimize our resources and the financial side investment, because at the end of the day, we are trying to resolve the decarbonization, carbon neutrality. We are not discussing economic growth for specific industry sectors. Yamada-san, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murakami. And if I may also ask Mr. Ho for this question.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to repeat all the points, but I believe in ASEAN countries, we can see a very clear commitment from all the governments on net zero. Clean energy transitions, adoptions of sustainable mobilities are all in the plan. And of course, also echoing on what our panelists mentioned, there's no single way, because given that we can see a lot of unique challenges in the regions, right? Increasing energy needs, growing populations, fast economic growth. So how we are expecting, I mean, whether the general populations, I mean, the general public can afford, I mean, in such a transition. If, for example, if you go to Ho Chi Minh City, ask someone that ride a motorbike every day, you can ask them whether they will replace it with an EV. They say no, because I mean, always traffic jam, and also it's cheap to buy a motorbike, right? So I think we need to get balance as well as some enablers as well, including public partnerships. I mean, not only with those energy companies, but for example, when we talk about infrastructure, where the real estate company can also play a role as well. I mean, in terms of looking at the charging facilities for EVs, but also more looking at the public awareness. Right? I mean, if we eventually, it's not only the government, the companies talking about decarbonization. We need the public involvement as well. So how to look at, I mean, education, public, I mean, awareness, as well as, of course, from the government perspective, also looking at some policy framework. I also very agree with what our panelists mentioned. We should look ASEAN as a region, how different countries can supplement with each other in terms of their strengths, and also looking at a more collaborative ecosystem rather than we see these industries alone, but we more an integrated approach to look at, okay, this sector, mobility, but also with the energy sectors, with other sectors, how they can be integrated together to think of the whole decarbonization pathway. So I think we need to think more collaboratively and also in a more integrated approach.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brian Ho. If I may also ask Mr. Kuwabara for any opinions on this point as well.
Thank you so much. So I want to make a short, actually. So I want to give another point of view for these topics. So of course, I understood that there are a lot of challenges exist and for the market side, but for the procurement side, it's a kind of a supply chain and feedstocks has a big problem because especially mobility part, mobility has a quite long supply chain. So we cannot control everything and we cannot understand everything of the supply chain. However, the decarbonization and the carbon neutrality require the total of the carbon neutrality or decarbonization for the supply chain. So we have to see other industry, for example, material industries, chemicals, steels, etc. So we have to make a cross-industry solution to solve our challenges because we have a lot of supply chain and a long supply chain. This is one opinion from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuwabara. So I would like to move on to our last question. I would like to ask to Ms. Dichosa and also Mr. Ikea. Ms. Dichosa, so from your point of view, what is your organization's expectation towards Japan, including both private and public sector, as we collaboratively work towards the shared goal of achieving decarbonization in the mobility and the automotive sector? What would you expect from the Japan side?
Thank you for the question. Of course, we recognize Japan as one of the leading economies for the automotive industry. And in fact, as mentioned earlier, the Japan OEMs have been in the ASEAN region. The headquarters in Japan have been dictating, of course, which ASEAN country they'll be designating as a hub for specific models or for specific vehicles. So I think we expect from Japan something of that sort as well. Actively pursue investments. As mentioned earlier, it cannot be all of us, having investments from Japan. But I think this designation of which models, which types of vehicles can be produced in the ASEAN country, leading towards this carbon neutrality, is something that we can work with Japan. I think designating not only the assembly or the manufacturing, but looking at the whole supply chain as well. And very, very important is also looking at the power source. It's not just the parts and components, but also looking at greening the power source from the manufacturing to the charging operations. So I think this supply chain consideration and knowing that Japan has the technologies, the diffusion of such technologies to ASEAN will be very, very important. And not just giving the technologies, but basically trying to also introduce capacity building for effective implementation of these technologies. I know that this would go a long way, between Japan and the ASEAN, because anyway, we are all interconnected. We have our own islands, but even typhoons travel from the Philippines to Japan and other ASEAN countries. So that's how interrelated we are. So I think Japan could lead the way in the discussions of how we can actually do this regional collaboration, maybe distributing manufacturing or operation hubs, or even development of systems, because systems, for example, battery management systems and other technologies would be very important as well. Data analytics would be very important as well, that would contribute to energy efficiency in the supply chain operations. So I think that would be something that I will look forward from the Japan side in the pursuing decarbonization strategies within the ASEAN region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Choda. And then the last question, Mr. Ikea. From the point of view from Japan, as a representative from the major Japanese car manufacturer, as well as the member of Keizai Doyukai, what is your area that you feel there's a potential of collaboration with the ASEAN market, the ASEAN regions?
Yes. There are two things I just want to mention briefly. The first one is related to some comments I made before, that a very deep and wide discussion between Japan, Japanese OEMs, or other countries' OEMs with each country, but with ASEAN a whole, to discuss what is the best way or speed or option for achieving carbon neutral in the most efficient way. That's the most important thing. Obviously, Japan is struggling, but also each country in Asia has their own ideas or specific points. But I think to discuss these things on a wide range and have some options is very important. The reason being that producing a new car takes about 5 or 6 years. It needs a huge R&D. And if the policy changes year by year, or if each country has their different type of ideas, which might change, that makes a huge loss for the industry, but for the country as well. So, of course, this is not a one-way thing. It might be different, but having a scenario planning for the future, foreseeing 10, 15 years ahead is very important. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it might relate to some topics in their afterwards sessions, but exchange as much as possible the personnel, executives between ASEAN countries and Japan is very important. Reason being that achieving carbon neutral takes very much a long and wide range of ecosystems. And Japan is also struggling, but they have their own, some lessons learned in the past, which have some personnel. Japanese companies need to have executives from Asian countries. They're in their own head of things, but vice versa. So personal exchange relates to this carbon neutral things as well, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ikea. So I guess that will be it for the discussion today. Thank you very much once again for your participation. Just maybe a quick takeaway from today's discussion. I guess the point that was emphasized was that, again, how we consider making this transition towards decarbonization, not relying on the single technologies, but considering all the available options in the market, which fits to the markets, considering the customer's point of view or the infrastructures or any energy resources and so on. Also, the second point that was mentioned was how the public and the private sectors should collaboratively work together, including the alignment with the policies, as well as how, in the long-term perspective, how we should move to make it seamless into the transitions. So thank you very much for all the thoughts for this discussion. I believe there will be some questions from the audience, but due to the limit of time, I think we can utilize the time of the coffee break or the lunchtime if you have any questions to the panelists. But once again, thank you very much for your participation, and we will look forward for the opportunity again next time. Thank you very much.